Hi, this is Al, and welcome to Open Chats. Open Chats is a series by the Open Institute where we discuss everything. The lessons that we have, the programs that we do. This is where we think a little bit more or reflect a little bit more about some of the things that we're seeing in the world. Now, in the last couple of weeks, we've released a new paper, a reflection paper where we were thinking about journalism as an industry and specifically how it is impacting such issues as media freedom, media resilience, misinformation and disinformation, all those buzzwords that we keep talking about. There's an issue there. Now, I'm here and I'm joined by Winnie Kamau. She is the Executive Director of the Association of Freelance Journalists that is now 20 years?
10.
10 years, so that is now 10 years old. I was there when it began. It just seems like such a long time ago. It started out at the Open Institute as a little organization, and then it has blossomed to being this wonderful organization that is covering the whole country with a lot of freelance journalists. Now, the main issues that we're raising in the paper is one, that there is a new commissioning editor that is commissioning a lot of the news and the stories that we see in journalism, and that's called the brown envelope. The brown envelope is not a person, it is a thing. It is an envelope filled with cash. Now, Winnie, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
First, I think we should start by you just telling us a little bit about the Association of Freelance Journalists so that everybody out there can understand who we are talking about. They know a lot about the Open Institute. It's this wonderful organization that does wonderful things. But tell us about AFJ.
Okay. Thank you all for hosting us. AFJ was started back in 2014, 2015. And as I said, we are now 10 years plus in existence. And thank you for playing a key role when we were starting out. And that is the Open Institute. For hosting us and taking us through a long journey. And the Association of Freelance Journalists is a network of freelancers where we are able to come together and communicate, or rather get to know what's happening amongst ourselves. When we started out, people used to ask us, who are you? Whom do you report to? And we'd say we are freelancers.
And freelancers used to make money by day.
Oh yes, but they would still look down upon freelancers.
Yes.
There's a lot of stigma around you being a journalist and you're not linked to any media house.
Right. Yes.
So, and it would take time, like if you'd go for meetings or if you'd go for an event and you have to explain yourself. But in 10 years, now we're seeing the tables have turned. And most of us are on the other side of the coin where we are freelancers. And now people are understanding, oh, you're an independent contributor, you're an independent journalist. Okay, let's work together.
But if I go back, even before we go to what the current situation is right now, and I go back, I started out myself as a journalist many, many years ago. And I remember in those days, we'd be paid very well. You could actually survive as an independent journalist. Because I remember when I used to write for the Standard, for example, I'd be paid about 5,000 shillings for, and Proline will put a little exchange rate on top so you understand what 5,000 shillings is. But we used to be paid 5,000 shillings for a story in the Standard. You'd be paid, if you have a spread, you'd be paid 20,000 shillings. So my target, for example, was just to make sure that I had 2 stories and 4 spreads.
And that was ideal, and that was what people wanted. And I remember when we started out, that's the amount of money people would get paid for a story until COVID happened.
COVID was a game changer.
Yes.
So what's happening now? How do journalists live today?
Journalists are living by faith. When we started out, it was like 2K, 3K. Right now, you get a story for 1,500. If you get a center spread, or if you get a front page, that one will go for 2,500.
2,500 shillings.
Yes. And
In
our
context.
photo is 500 shillings right now.
So in context, I have gone out, I have researched the story, because if it's front page or if it is a spread, it's very well researched. And it costs money to research.
Oh, yes.
So let's think about the cost for a minute. Number one, I went to school because journalist is not a content creator.
Yes.
A journalist is a person who is actually being trained on
Yeah.
the ethics or the process of journalism.
Yeah.
Getting the other side of the story, making sure that you confirm all details. So number one, I have gone to school and I have invested in school. I graduated. Then now I have come and I am doing this story.
Yes.
And I'm following due process, making sure that I follow the story to the ends of the earth. If it is. And at the end of that, I bring the story and the story makes it to the front page.
Yeah.
And I am paid 2,500 shillings.
Yes.
That is actually $20. And then 500 shillings, which is less than $5.
Yes.
For a picture.
Yes.
So I could do the most amazing picture and I'd be paid. So what's the incentive then? Why are they still working? Why do you still have members?
Journalism is a calling. Journalism comes from deep within. It's something that people are passionate about. Many have tried quitting and going to PR firms, doing all these things, but they still find themselves coming back. It take you even 6 months to get paid.
What are you saying?
Yes, you'll accumulate and it will take you 6 months to get paid.
So in that time, I still have a family that I still need to take care of.
And you have to go to work.
And I can get sick and need to go to the hospital.
Oh yes. Have we not lost, how many journalists have we lost especially in 2025? With the last journalist from Machakos dying. And one of the best cameramen that we had in the country called Rashid. Rashid passed on was it in December, early December, or is it late December? And it's because of stress and access to health facilities. By the time they were able to get him and get everything done for him, he's gone.
Now, you and I last year spent some time. We were going actually to train journalists about narratives. We were not going to think about the welfare of journalists and all these things. We were literally just going into Maona Space. Maona Space is a space that we have at the Open Institute that is in Ife County, where we have a wide range of change makers who come and work from there. A working space for them. But on every given time, one of the offerings that we have is capacity building. And in this particular one, we were going on a program where we wanted to get journalists to think about narratives. What are the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and how do we change those stories?
Yeah.
And so we were going there, and I remember we went with you and we were meeting them once every month in a fellowship style session, because they don't have time. They have to go and look for money. So
yes.
Journalists don't have time to come and sit for 3, 4, 5 days and be trained on anything. And so we created this program in such a way that we come every month and we have a sit down with them. And what was interesting to me is that as we continued, a lot of the sessions became listening sessions, and a lot of the sessions stopped being about narratives, but they became about the industry of journalists.
Yes.
And or journalism itself.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? You know, listening to this group of journalists who are, first of all, they live far away from Nairobi, which means they are in the rural and remote areas, and listening to them discuss their plight. What was that like for you?
I mean, I remember when we started out, we thought we were coming to bring it to capacity build these journalists to be better, to think differently, different narratives away from what has always been peddled. But then you realize there's so much that is going on in the counties. And that means the plight is, well, they're not well facilitated or they're not well remunerated. There are many who are looking for jobs and they will rather hang on anything that they can be able to work on. And also, at the same time, they are computing things that are coming up. Like we find journalists want to make money, as in, yes, they need to be paid. But at the same time, uh, the the stories will go to the highest bidder. So who is the highest bidder? A politician who is out there, who is willing to give them money for transport and will pay them a little bit more. So then, w- how do you incentivize these journalists to be able to care about what's happening on the ground and not think about politics?
And it's not that there are no stories to tell.
Oh, there are many. Actually,
fact-
the last one when we were talking about data, and we were thinking about like looking at the narratives that we had. We had the journalists who were talking about the minerals mined in Kilifi County, and they were talking about, and they're like, oh, kuna pali tunaonanga hawa watu wanaingia hivi, oh, kumbe hapo. As in, there were so many things. The sand dunes in Kilifi County, those are stories that people don't talk about. And those are unique stories, but because they do not, development stories do not attract money or do not bring in money like stories of politics and scandals. So they tend to pivot to those stories that bring money faster.
I met a journalist recently at Mauno who has been following the Shakahola story, and she has been extremely pedantic about this story. She's been following every single detail about it. She's talked to every single person that has been involved in the story. She goes to court regularly. She's become like a centerpiece of that story. And I was talking to her about what is the cost to her of just following up on this story, and how does she afford it. And it turned out that she has to do a lot of other things. She has to have a business on the side, or she has to try to do other things to make sure that she has a little bit of money to survive.
Yes.
So that she can be able to follow this story that is big. Now, for context, Shakahola is a cult story. I think the world's biggest cult. And there's a lot of people who went and were killed by being hungry, by starving themselves until they died. And she has followed the story of that pastor, the story of how people went, how they gave their fortunes to this church and all that. And it's a very deep thing to have to follow. Now, Kilifi is not a small county as well. So you're finding that for her to even go to where Shakahola is from India, she has to spend a minimum of 2,000 shillings.
Yes.
You're telling me that after all of that,
yes,
she will still...
Actually, if it's a video, she'll get 1,000. If they haven't changed, it's between 1,000 1,500, and it will take long to get that money. And remember, she has also followed Shakahola 2.
Yes.
There's Shakahola 1, and now there's Shakahola 2.
Yes.
And Shakahola 2 is being prosecuted where? In Nairobi. So she's spending money to come all the way to Nairobi courts, that's at Kaha West, to follow up on Shakahola 2.
So with all of that and how expensive that is, and the stories about mining you've talked about, the stories about, there's a lot of human interest stories in Kilifi. There's stories about even how some international organizations, this journalist was telling me that he has been following up on a story about human interest organizations who have been there for a long time, who have had a lot of money channeled through them to purportedly do development on the ground. But upon audit, even at current prices, you find that they spent less than 1% of the money that they were receiving. And he's been following this story. There's two angles that I want you to help us to understand. One, we've talked about the angle of pay. We've talked about the angle of stories that are not being told. But there's also the angle of just the emotional and the human toil, or the human cost of trying to do these stories. Because there's questions of fear, there's questions of danger, especially in the mining stories. What is that like for journalists, the way that you have heard?
So far, there's a lot of self-censorship. And even in the political stories that are being done, there is a lot of self-censorship that is going on. And to our biggest surprise, I thought when we stepped out of the newsrooms, we left the politicals, the politics, and everything on in the mainstream, and we came out and we were doing development stories. So development stories means agriculture, means science, means those things that do not attract a lot of attention, but to our surprise, it brings a lot of attacks on journalists. Some have died in the process. We know of a science journalist who died while following a science story, and he was found dead in his hotel room. We have journalists who have been trailed and who have been threatened because of following even the simplest story, like fertilizer,
Right.
like sugar. You know, those following a farmer who's farming sugarcane, following a farmer who's planting what is it called? Maybe wheat. It will still draw attention to you. You think it's a simple story, but it has repercussions in the
One
end.
journalist who told us about trying to follow the coffee story and being threatened
Oh, yes.
in Mombasa.
Coffee story, tea story. Those are development stories. Those are very
They're supposed to be
agriculture.
harmless.
They're harmless. What is it that you'd want to harm somebody over following a story about coffee farming? But it still attracts threats. So there's no story that you can safely say in this country that, oh, I'm going to do this story and no one will touch me.
Have you ever
Shock
looked
on
for
you.
a story yourself and felt fear and felt, oh my God, maybe I should stop?
I have been threatened. I was following up on a story about the Canadian brothers, and it turned and changed my life. I don't know if you've ever heard the Wee Brothers. The Wee Brothers is a scandalous story from Canada. It involved the former Prime Minister Trudeau, and it involved so many people in the government. But it started as a harmless story. And I was just commissioned by a colleague from the Canadian press, and they were like, oh, can you help us follow up on this story? And I did that. And what I got, God knows. So it was a development story, because the whole language, if you look at the Wee stories about charity,
Yes.
two brothers started a charity in their country, in Canada, and then they blew up.
Yes.
Then they decided they invested in India, then they came to Kenya. They found a rich market, they went to Masai Mara. But in Mara, what they would do, they would build a classroom and then put a plaque
Right.
for that particular donor.
Yes.
Then the next person gives money, they remove that plaque, then they put another plaque of another donor.
Same classroom.
Same classroom.
So one classroom can be funded by 10 people.
Oh, yes. Then they would say they've built at the risk of me being, I hope this does not get to them because they are very lethal, they will come for my neck. So there's even a group of journalists who came all the way from Canada to come and do the same story. You know, they left immediately with a lot of urgency. They were going to be killed. And they documented that story. If you watch it on YouTube, you'll be like, yeah. And this involved the governors in Narok, this involved so many people. So it's a scandalous story that continues to be hidden, but it's a development story. It's about charity.
And what is the impact on you?
For me, you come out with a lot of fear. You come out traumatized, and you're always looking over your shoulder.
Right.
Yes, and it takes time for you to get out of that.
Yes.
At the same time, we've done other stories, and you get out and you're like, yeah, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
But you still encourage our journalists to continue doing these stories, because at the end of the day, what else are we going to do? We are born storytellers. We have the passion of telling the stories, but we cannot forgo your passion. You're like, oh, let me
You have to
continue.
keep going. You have to
Yes,
keep telling the
but it comes with a lot of engaging the community. Your community, and our community, I mean our freelance, the network of freelance journalists, where we have a WhatsApp group and we have other channels where we talk and we also meet and discuss, and we're like, let's move, no giving up, let's do this. So that helps
giving
us.
each other some courage.
Yes,
Keep going.
yes, you share your experience, and somebody else says, oh, I went through the same, so let's do this.
So back to the brown envelope now. All of these things, because now our journalist has to survive. And so, number one, you're not being paid very well for the stories that you go into. Number two, there's a human cost still following that story.
Yes.
To very little reward. And also, there's the other thing of you follow a story and the editor cuts it into a small so you have spent
in a oh yes,
you have spent time going to interview so many people and look for the story. You've written paragraphs upon paragraphs, and when it finally comes out, it's
like 200 or 150 words,
something in the counties.
Yes, in the counties.
It becomes by the way. So with all of that lack of reward for work, people have then turned to the brown envelope.
Yes.
And we've written a lot about the brown envelope in our paper and why it's a thing. Tell me, from the things that you heard, why is the brown envelope, or what is this brown envelope, and why is it so important to journalists?
The brown envelope has been in existence for, I guess, decades and decades. Even before we came into the industry, the brown envelope existed. I talk this because I'm part of the Kenya Editors Guild, and I do have some reflections with some of the seniors in the industry. And you hear there are people who talk about the brown envelope, and there are stories that will be told about how the brown envelope influenced 1, 2, 3 things. Like including the recent Jirongo story, people would come out and say what happened, like how he lived his life and everything. But at the same time, there are people who are not tainted with the brown envelope. One thing, like even in AFJ, one thing we really and we still push is that please don't go for the brown envelope. Let not the brown envelope be your way of getting. Yes. Because right now there are those who are called the quacks, or the who are not like genuine journalists, or they're not accredited, or they are journalists who were in the mainstream media houses, came out, but they still thrive on the brown envelope. Like if I give you money, you'll ask a journalist will ask for money. Most of them, like those who are not following the tenets of journalism. And I'm glad the Media Council is trying to root them out, but there's still remnants there. So what they do, they'll tell you, come on, nataka kuona your story. If you want to see that story, make sure you give money. In the newsroom, it was there.
I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about, okay, so there's what we need to do about the brown envelope, and there's what we need to encourage them to do. But for the brown envelope to be so predominant now, there's a reason. And the reason, I think, from what I've heard, and I'm thinking about, I think the last session that we had in Kilifi, where this journalist said, look, I have a family, I have to pay fees. My child has been sick for now 3, 4, 5 months, and it's a baby. And there are stories, there are people who are willing to pay me to attend. So if they're going to give me, what's wrong with me receiving a little allowance for coming to tell the story? And anyway, if I don't receive this allowance and I go and get paid this 2,500, is that enough for me to take care of my child? there's this lady who also said that she resorted to going to the brown envelope because, and I found this to be important, because as a woman, there's already dangers in being a journalist. But being a woman journalist, the danger goes up.
Yes, the risk is higher. Yeah.
Risk that has to be added on top of that. And she was telling me the story of how in the last investigative piece she tried to do, they threatened that, and it was a very specific threat, that she was going to be raped by 7 men. That we're going to come with 7 men to rape you. And that scared her so much that first of all she dropped that story. But then she asked herself, what am I risking my life for?
Yeah, is it worth it? There's no story worth your life. Yes.
What is the value of this story? And so she stepped away from that. And having stepped away from that, her explanation is that it dampened her passion and increased her survival. That survival instinct. Yeah? And so what she wants to do is that she just wants to get to the brown envelope, write the politician story. A lot of times she explained that the politician has written the story himself. All she has to do is to edit it into language. And she gave me an aha moment, because she explained this is the reason why most stories say one side.
Yeah.
That Winnie said, Winnie said, Winnie said. Even if Winnie said about Kags, there's never a chance for
Kags to be able to
Kags. Now you have to wait for the next day for Kags to go and pay another brown envelope for them to say,
now so that Kags said Kags.
You understand? So that becomes the model that has become. Now, given the fact that we had more than 15,000 people lose their jobs last year, more than 15,000 journalists lost their jobs last year, just here in Kenya, it means that your membership has grown exponentially. What are the pillars of the things that we need to put in place so that then we can help the journalists? In the paper, I know we talked about 4 things. We talked about payment system, because people have to be paid for their work.
Yeah.
And if media houses are not paying for the work, then we have to find an independent mechanism for paying jobs. In the paper, we talked about a courage mechanism, and I really want you to talk about what a mechanism for courage looks like. In the paper, we talked about capacity building being a real need for journalists to even understand how they can survive. But I want to focus a little bit on this courage piece. What is the kind of thing that we can build so that then journalists can have this persevere and go on? What are the things that we need to do, and not just us as the Open Institute or you as AFJ, but as a community? I'm talking about donors here, I'm talking about government, I'm talking about what is the mechanism that you think should be set up around the journalists?
Okay, let me take you back a little bit before we get to the mechanisms of helping the journalists. The brown envelope is in 2 phases, or what we call the brown envelope is in 2 phases. There's a brown envelope for you to do a story, and there's also a brown envelope for you to kill a story. So if I don't want your story to go, I'll come and talk to you nicely and give you something, and then you can kill the story. And then there's a one that you can push the story and it will be published. There's also, which is not like a brown envelope, but it's the facilitation fee that is fair to go, or hey, I need will you give me fare if I come for your event? So those are 3 levels of what the kind of money that can be passed around in journalism. But okay, and I was arguing with you and telling you, if the people who are called for that event are given money, why not the journalists? So it's fair. Okay, you give them transport, it's okay. But now, where you see the ethics of journalism being broken are now when you're killing and pushing for a story. A story should sell itself, and a story should not die. And if it dies, let it die a natural death. That one, that is, it does not meet the standards. Yes. But if it's a good story worth being told and it has been investigated, it should run. You saw recently, like in the US, where they were curtailing, is it the 60 minutes? There's a story they were doing about is it the ice or whatever those,
About ice,
yes. And then it was being killed because the orders came from the president. So that should not happen,
Yes.
but it's still happening in the newsroom today. So those things, with that being said, with those things in mind, then you know that we are doomed. And a journalist needs to survive. At the end of the day, the journalists have families, they have rent to pay, they have bills to pay, there are people back at home, they're waiting on them. And then people see journalists as this buzzy. I don't know how you look at people. Like, I remember there's a time one of my colleagues who said, like, there's a time he had just joined KTN,
Yeah.
and he was an anchor for 7 o'clock news, and that's prime.
Yes.
And then he leaves, he's going home, he gets into a matatu.
Yes.
And then people start saying, Allah,
You can be on TV.
we nakuonanga kwa TV kuko matatu, you know. Now your standards are raised there.
Yes.
You're like, wait, sir, lazima nitafute gari. That means you have to go look for a loan,
Yes.
so that you can buy a car.
Yes.
Aya, nguo. I remember for me, my pressure was, as a reporter, I didn't have many like different clothes to wear.
Yeah.
Because I was behind the camera.
Yes.
But now when I was brought to in front of the camera, unaulizwa, hii nguo amerudia sana. Na Kenya wananga huruma.
Yes. Ni kweli kabisa.
So you have to give a journalist, a reporter, wardrobe allowance. So haya, amerudia nguo, amerudia viatu na nywele.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that reporter, at least you can have basics. And now that one is gone. Most of the media houses are not giving you wardrobe allowance. They're not giving you transport. They're not giving you at least there's Uber that covers you kidogo, future uchi.
Yes.
And they're not giving you makeup allowance.
Right.
As in, there's so many things they're not giving you right now. They've chopped off because they're trying to cut costs.
Yes.
So this journalist bado utamwona kwa TV. How will she survive, or how will he survive? He has to look for ways to survive.
And that's where the brown envelope, that's the incentive for
Yes. So now you have to survive. Unaenda unafanya story, you go do 1-2 story, and it is done. But at the same time, remember, even as we're doing this, journalism at the end of the day is telling those important stories that need to be told. And if we do not do that, if we do not empower the journalists to tell those stories, we are doomed as a society. We are doomed as Kenyans. We are doomed as the whole country, as in
the whole world.
Yeah, the whole world. Globally, if we don't empower journalists to be able to tell those pertinent stories, you've killed your society. Because everyone will just, and now, especially right now, we have the age of social media. Everyone is a reporter.
Yes.
Everyone with a camera is a reporter.
Yes.
No one is verifying facts. You remember even the case we had in Githurai, the plane that crashed in Githurai.
Yes.
You remember everyone on TikTok had a camera and peddling their own concoction of story.
Yes.
Then now, we all went to the mainstream media. We went to different media houses. That's when we got the clarification. And that's where the government was able to clarify that it was not a military chopper that crashed. It was whatever different chopper, yes, that crashed. I mean, the company that owned the chopper was different. So that's where we look at journalism.
And in fact,
And it's important.
Because we're coming into an election.
Oh,
And
now,
now because everybody is a journalist.
now look at it.
Magnify misinformation.
The government has already given 100 million for influencers, or I don't know who, to be able to create a narrative for the government. Tell me.
100 million.
100 million has already been set aside for to influencers and different creators, content
So-called
creators,
creators.
so that they can peddle the narratives that they need to be told. So coming back to your solution, and the solution is not only in empowering these journalists, I think even creating a place where they can be able to talk about themselves. At TFJ, we're trying to create a place where we can have mental checkups, where we can debrief and be able to talk about what is ailing us and what is ailing people. And the men, especially. I remember last year in Kilifi, one of our colleagues said, we need to speak to the men editors, the male editors. We need to have a side event for them because the men are suffering and they are dropping.
And quietly.
Yes. Men don't talk a lot. And they just say one word and they leave. Women, we say,
Yeah.
we can sing about our problems.
Yes.
But men, they are quietly dropping, and they are dropping one by one. I remember even there's an editor last year who passed on. Man, coming to find out it was because of stress at work. That guy went just like that. And he was a brilliant editor. Very good. So let's have a place where we can debrief ourselves, and we can be able to talk to ourselves and understand and even share on ways where we can be able to make it better and look for money. I know the Kenya Media Sector Working Group, which we are part of, has been thinking of establishing a media fund. But that media fund, it does not, people have been wondering, okay, how will it work? And we're trying to tell them, we can start something small. We're trying to start something, Talk Africa Media Fund, just to help journalists, kidogo, and then they can repay back the money if they get the money.
And a revolving fund.
Yes, that one. Well, we're in the initial stages, and let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is, I think we have a lot to do.
Yeah.
And we offered this paper as a reflection piece. Instead of it being a formal white paper, or instead of it being a policy paper, it's so that we can all begin to reflect a little bit more. I think there's a lot, we haven't even scratched the surface of the level of reflection that needs to be done towards making an environment for journalism healthy. As you stay with us, we're going to be talking more about this over time as we are learning more and more. Winnie and I are not finished with the work that we want to do with the journalists. We're still going to continue engaging with them and trying to figure out what a good structure might look like. Especially with the ones that are under Mauno, because we have a number of journalists who are within Mauno who we're going to be working with. What we want to ask you is this. Number one, please go read the paper. The link will be just down below here. Go read that paper. When you have read the paper, please give us your comments. Tell us what you think. Please tell us how you think you can contribute to this thing. Number three, let's come together, whether you're in government, whether you're in the donor industry, whether you are in the non-profit industry, even when you're a journalist. Let's come together and let's start talking about these things and let's bring them out. Because when we demonize a journalist for taking that brown envelope, we haven't solved the problem.
Yes.
When we castigate them and maybe even penalize them for taking that brown envelope, we haven't solved the problem. Because the story behind the brown envelope is that there is fear, there is hunger, there is desperation, there is a human being who needs to survive, but who also wants to tell that story with passion. So, thank you very much for joining us on this Open Chat series. Follow us on all the Open Institute channels. Follow the Association of Freelance Journalists. We are online everywhere, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.